be yourself.
Hey, that is pretty short, isn't it?
Now I get some wise guys that say, "Well, I don't know who else I can be. That's all I can do is be myself." But you'd be amazed how many people in business spend a lot of time trying to be somebody else, and mostly well intentioned, but they got to be comfortable in their own skin. A big part of what we do with our clients is help them get comfortable in their own skin. And one of the things that we use a ton as part of our coaching practice is a behavior assessment called DISC, DISC. And it's amazing how much fun all of our clients have with that very simple tool that they take 10 minutes answering 24 questions. And it comes back with a fantastic report that helps to describe their natural style very, very well.
It's an excellent, very, very powerful, very easily administered behavior assessment, no question.
We can often see, it's one of the first things that we do with clients, and what we often see is you see a big weight that gets lifted off their shoulders all of a sudden. Because what's happened is they've been trying to, again, be somebody else, not be themselves in different situations. Instead of just embracing who they are, understanding what their natural strengths and styles are, and then, maybe working a little bit on things that they aren't as strong with, but again, being okay with those things, being comfortable being themselves. So, being yourself is something that I think many owners unfortunately struggle with, is being okay with being themselves instead of trying to be somebody else.
Well, they try to create an image, okay, an image that isn't themselves. It's something else, some other definition that measures up against some perceived person. And it's when you create that image, that's when things start to get lost. They wander off the tracks. Because if you aren't yourself comfortable, as Adam said, in your own skin, you got to keep track of things that aren't natural to you. And that's where it gets difficult. You know, I was doing a little reading on this over the weekend. There's a woman, Victoria Ayres. She has a pretty nice article on being yourself. And in it she quotes another person, a guy named Alan Watts. And Alan Watts comes up with one sentence that I thought was pretty good. It said, "Waking up to who you are requires letting go of who you imagine yourself to be." So you got to let go. And the article then talks about the inner child, and it moves a little bit too left for me, but it's okay. I mean, remember when you're a kid, or look at a kid, study a kid. You're not stiff and serious, and all the burdens of running a business or the leadership position you might be in for an organization. You aren't stiff and serious here. You're letting go. You're just having fun. You look at things not so dead serious, but in a different perspective. Where did those things go? How did they leave us? When did they leave us? Especially as a leadership position.
Well, I think what you're talking about, Jack, is being present, being in that present moment. And something we talk about a lot, which is not worrying about what everybody else is saying or thinking. I think you mentioned that whole idea of being stiff and almost too programmed. Or just saying, just kind of be there, and realizing that chances are you're probably going to upset somebody or offend somebody, or maybe you'll be a little goofy, and it's okay. It's part of being human.
That's okay. Yeah. That's the key. Yeah. She talks about things like fighting negative thoughts, which we talk about too. There was a company several years ago that started, two brothers, I think in Massachusetts, started with a T-shirt for the Boston Marathon that sold out very quickly. And they had a simple phrase, "Life is good." And if you stop and think about that and just dance with those three words for a little bit, no matter what happens in your life, you could be diagnosed with terminal cancer, and basically you're going to live another month, another day, it's sunshiny and you feel great. Why can't you embrace life is good rather than continually get worn down with the negative thoughts? And it's just not a deadly disease, it's anything. We all wake up and we all have a day, and that day more often than not has some negativity thrown into it. How do you deal with that? Well, basically by being yourself and trying to be more positive in your thinking will create a different person that moves to the natural self. And it's kind of cool, and it can be a lot of fun.
Well, we see it a ton in business. We see it a ton with family business, especially when you have the inner workings of those relationships, whether it be parent, child, or siblings, and often those folks, obviously know each other in a very intimate way, and you got to be different in business. Again, you have to leave those personal relationships at the door and kind of and just be yourself. We had a client a few years back where he had one of the kids who was working in the company. His only real business experience was working for the company. He'd had other jobs and doing different things, but the only role model he had was really his father. And so this particular son was kind of the heir apparent, and so he figured, well, look, I got to do what Dad's doing, and I got to try to be like Dad. Now, the problem with that is, now, even though their styles from a disc standpoint were pretty similar, they were still a little bit different. And also the experience. The father had 30 plus years of experience that the son did not have. And you had to understand that, hey, there's certain things that your dad can say and do that you can't. Okay, given his experience, given his age, given a lot of things. So you can't just try to be him.
That's right. Doesn't work.
Right.
Doesn't work too well.
You got to be.
A 60-year-old man can say a lot of things that an 18-year-old can't.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
and not be banished to Russia or some other kind of thing. That's
right. So you got to be yourself in those situations, not try to be somebody else. You can learn from them. Take nuggets, take bits and pieces from them, and help to make you better. But again, be yourself.
Well, how often do people check themselves rather than follow their intuition and act on your inner feelings? When Anna had mentioned DISC, one of the not segments, but one of the quadrants. There's four quadrants that everyone in the country is put into. And if you're one of those segments that is generally on the quiet side, usually very smart, well-read, you have answers to all kinds of things. Intuitively, it's boiling up over there, but you don't say anything about it. Well, why not? Why don't you act on those inner feelings? And you become stronger. You become more of yourself, as we're talking about here. It just works better rather than check yourself continually against somebody else, some image that's created out of experiences and readings. And who cares about those people? You care about you, whoever you are. And when you're in your natural state, that's when you're most effective, and it's fun.
Oh,